With your 26 years of experience in teaching, how emotionally you have seen the changes that have evolved into as per the digital world has come into the being?
All these pressures, it create pressure in the mind of the parents, and naturally it percolates to the child. I have introduced the word mindful parenting. That is, parenting should not be just spontaneous. Conscious parenting is required now, because now the time is less.
But when we are into a joint family or we are having people around us, we learn from the very childhood how to communicate. Those things and those skills learning is missing in today's world.
We are all working together. Both our objective is the same. That is the betterment of the child. And the parent should be the first place where the child goes for refuge.
So emotionally intelligent children or academic excellence?
Emotionally intelligent.
So now when we do about parenting today, so you think it is of more pressure or it is of more participation?
I would like to say that you need not fit into a box. You are important as you are. You matter. You are very precious.
So
in isolation, we are nothing.
We are nothing. In every classroom, beyond the lessons and laughters, there lies numerous stories where we can hear about the deep silence and the silent fear that children are undergoing, along with the deep empathy that they need to belong in the environment around them. Today, mental well-being, environment concerns are problems with which educators are dealing with, and they are trying to build in the surrounding behind children so that children are emotionally strong and they are also environmentally conscious. Today we have with us Dr. Janaki Mukherjee, who is having an experience of more than 26 years into education, and in past 3 years she is working with Techno India Group, and she is working as a community involvement and as well as campus enrichment programs. She has worked with lot of correctional homes, lot of organizations into uplifting, skill building, and educational exercises. Her overall thoughts is about making education holistic, bringing children to an environment where they have an overall development. Today in this discussion, we will have her insights into how teachers, parents can help children deal with this world that is dynamic, ever changing, as well as evolving with every passing day. Welcome, Dr. Mukherjee. We are very honored to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, ma'am, with your 26 years of experience in teaching, you have seen various parents, children, teachers interacting. How emotionally you have seen the changes that have evolved into as per the digital world has come into the being?
See, along with the digital world, a lot of other changes are also happening in the society and in the family dynamics. We see the joint family system breaking up.
Yes.
We see both the parents working.
Yes.
We see that now, that the time has come when we are thinking about and we are trying to promote equality between the men and women. So women are not in the stereotypical role of only taking care of
Yes.
home. They want to do something, either from home or from outside or work from home. So all these things with the changes going on, and also we see a lot of change happening in the world. The world dynamic is changing. It is,
Yes.
and everywhere we find there is a lot of chaos as well as a lot of crisis which is there in the world today. Today it has become really a very difficult place for the children to grow up according to their full potential and perform as per their full potential. Because in the world we see that there is crisis of jobs, we are also facing right now. There is scarcity of job, there is unemployment, there is uncertainty, the inflation, then along with it the social norms that every person is trying to conform to, some of which may not be actual, some of it which can be just stereotypical.
Yeah.
All these pressures, it create pressure in the mind of the parents, and naturally it percolates to the child. So the child is also going through a tremendous change and a tremendous what to say, a crisis situation, because when they see their parents struggling, their parents going through a crisis, it reflects on the child.
Yes.
It is as simple as that. So in my teaching years, what I have learned is, the impact that is generated in the mind of the child without our knowledge. A lot of times we just, that is why in all my books, I have written 5 books. And in one of my book, I have introduced the word mindful parenting. That is, parenting should not be just spontaneous. And to be a parent, we ourselves have to be first emotionally regulated. And there are certain steps or certain things which has to be conscious. Conscious parenting is required now, because now the time is less. The time we spend with the child is less. So in that less time, we have to fill a lot of things. The time is less, the need is more.
Yeah.
So in order to just fit in everything, the child's emotional development, the child's reading habit, the child's emotional regulation, the child's self-esteem, to build up resilience in the child, so that the child can adjust in different situations, because situations are changing. You never know, one of the parent may get a transfer, the child may go to some other state,
Yes.
may go abroad. We don't know what is happening in and like in the previous generations, everything was more or less stable. Now everything is changing minute to minute.
Yes.
Minute to minute. So naturally, we have to take this parenting. And of course, what is taught in the school, everything should be very organized. It should be conscious, and we should be very well aware of what are the skills we want to impart. It should not be just giving them knowledge. It should be to develop their mind. It should be to develop them as a personality. It is not thrusting the child with a particular profession, which, the society dictates. This is the best profession. To just ignore the social pressure and go by what the child wants to take up.
So, if you have to rate among empathy, freedom, knowledge, how do you think that where does the school's role and the parents' role fit in to that?
So, everything is responsible. The school is responsible, parents are responsible, the society, the wider society is responsible. The media now has become a very major participant in the process of developing the child. So we have to restrict the media. And conscious parenting means that also, that too much exposure to media, and there should be monitored. Their media viewing should be strictly monitored to see what they are viewing in their immature years, and in their soft mind, what impact we are creating there. If they see too much of violence, that is what the child will model. And those are the things that, and if the child sees something which is not permissive for a child to view,
Correct.
Knowing it scientifically is one thing.
Yes.
But, the other part is not desirable. So those are the things that we have to limit. And that requires conscious parenting. Parenting needs a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time, which in the previous generation we were never taught, or we just took parenting to be a spontaneous thing.
Yes.
You just get married, you just have a kid, the kid is raised. But those days were also different. We had, there's a saying that you need a whole village to bring up a child. So that saying has come from this, that, a child is never brought up by just one person. The society plays its role, the school plays its role, the family plays its role, the bigger family plays its role. So just because we have distanced ourselves from everything and we are just being reduced to dots, we are just a dot now. Just
Correct.
mother, father, the child.
Yes.
We have distanced ourselves
There's
from
a
our
gap created
bigger
into the
family, where we used to be with cousins, we used to share things. These things used to come naturally to us.
system.
So that if that has changed, if that society has changed, then there should be some change in the family pattern also, or the family dynamics also. Because if we want to achieve that result, we see that, in those generation, if we go back by 2 generation, how resilient the children were, the adults were, when they used to face big problems in life, setbacks in life, crisis situation, how well they handled it.
They had people around them.
They had people around them. They had a child always learns by watching, by mirroring others. So now they have only the father and mother in front of them. Previously, they used to have the entire joint family in front of them. They could see that, the head of the family, the grandfather maybe, how he's respected, how his opinion is valued, how his wisdom is taken. Now those things are gone.
The collaboration between each family member
is absolutely
so
gone.
even today, parents have a single child. They even don't want to have another
so
child. The bonding between siblings is also missing.
Bonding and the equation between two siblings. That itself, because when you have a sibling, there is competition between them. How you deal with the other, how you take along
from them.
You learn. That is also a skill they learn. How to take care of each other. All these things are collaboration only.
So they say an individual identity at home. So that is the same thing which we expect in their later lives also. So if there is anything disturbing, they are not able to handle with that stress.
Absolutely.
But when we are into a joint family or we are having people around us, we learn from the very childhood how to communicate, how to step back, how to go front, move front, how to take people together. So those things and those skills learning is missing in today's world.
Absolutely.
So there's a huge gap created as we come have into this discussion.
Yes.
How do you think? Because see, parents today both of them are working. There is a limited time frames now. What we cannot deny a fact that the learning from grandparents, parents, children, siblings, then family, the extended family, cousins is missing. So much time a single parent can never give. Neither is it possible for a teacher of a 40 children, 35 children in the classroom to listen to every child's brain, because there are a lot of things, and with the media coming in and with the social platforms and everything,
social pressure,
children are coming exposed to a lot of things. So how do you think that this gap can be mitigated with both collaboration of schools, parents? So what is it that you think that can help us evolve? The
thing is, we have to think that first of all, the parents have to think that the schools are not our enemies. The same way the school has to think that the parents are not our enemies. We are all working together.
Very nice thought.
And we both want both our objective is the same. That is the betterment of the child.
Yes.
If our goal is the same, then we should not be having any tiff, conflict. So this way, the teachers and the school administrators, everybody, they have to be emotionally, I'm always stressing on the word emotional regulation, because that is extremely important in today's world. So they have to be matured in dealing with the parents. The parents have to be mature when dealing with the school. And above all, there should be a very good connection between the parents and the children, so that the parents monitor each and every small thing that is happening in the child's life. Nothing grows just in one day.
Yes.
If there is an instance of bullying, that bullying is not happening in one day and, it's the end of it. it is over a period of time. So while the child is going through bullying, how you are dealing with it? First of all, are you listening? How we listen to the child? Do we make the child feel that they really matter to us?
Yes.
But we love them. The parents, they love their child to no end. It's not that they don't love them.
We don't
But-
express it.
But there are certain words you need to say. There are certain actions you need to take. So that is where the word comes in, mindful or conscious parenting. Because when the time is less, you have to give the child this feeling. And the parent should be the first place where the child goes for refuge. If the child is distressed, or the class teacher, that also the class teacher has to inculcate that kind of love, warmth, and empathy about the child's problem, that
Yeah.
I will not judge you. Children are very scared of being judged. So supposing a child has brought something home, so you can respond in two ways. First is, you have taken someone's thing without asking. Oh, this is, you are being a thief. Just to
Yes.
level the child as a thief. This is way number one. Maybe the child has really picked it up because the child wanted that thing. The second way is to say, okay, I can see this, that this is not yours. The moment you say that, have you stolen it? The child's response will be
Correct.
automatically, no. The better way is, I see that this is not something you had previously. Maybe you have taken it from someone. Okay. Do you like this very much? Okay, then maybe we will go for it. I will buy you this maybe after 2 weeks. Don't give instant gratification. The moment the child says, immediately we're giving it. This is also another wrong thing we are doing. Don't go for delayed gratification. So we will buy it after 2 weeks, but beta, please return
Give it to
return it to that child the next day.
Correct.
This is a very matured way of dealing with it. We are not being judgmental. Because don't we do wrong things? We are doing such big wrong things every day.
Everyone does.
But
mistakes is
mistake
we learn
everybody
with our
does.
mistakes. Yeah.
So to make the child feel that the parents, they are, the place where they can, they can come back to, and that is their refuge. They can go and they can say anything, even the mistakes. So if the parent is the place where they go and tell the mistakes, they are not scared of the parent, or they don't feel that the parent don't have any time for them, then, this entire thing can spiral into a bigger thing.
So now, if we are just extending to this discussion, today when we see most of the children and a lot of families, we even hear a lot of stories, even online circulated. Children, instead of going back to the parents or talking with the teacher or telling to their friends, they Google around that I am facing this problem. What is it that I should do?
So number one is that
So-
they are not being monitored. Number one, they are having that gadget with them, not to Google.
No, but see, what happens, the practical is that when the child is coming back from school, earlier when we used to come back from school, 1 hour discussion with mom, with grandmother, with children, with siblings, that this happened, this happened, this. So we used to burst out what was our thought. Now the child has to wait till the parent come back home from work. So parents are not also not on the wrong side. But at that time, the child gets impatient. They want to Google around. They want to look for an answer, what is going in their brain. So there are a lot of things which unrequired comes to their mind. Lot of misguidance is also there. Lot of Instagram, social media, and everything is out there, which helps them. In a way, they think that it is helping them, but it's not a right call. So how do you think that we can deal with these problems, and how children can be made digitally literate? That what type of things can be given, should be looked at there?
See, the thing is, there are certain things which come with age.
Yes.
A 4-year-old child, a 6-year-old child, or a 8-year-old child cannot have that kind of discretion or wisdom.
Yes.
So I would say that age group child should not be given a mobile phone, should not be given a gadget. Number two, if the child has confidence that every day, the moment you come back home, you give immediately, say 15 to 20 minutes time, and in a very disciplined manner. Here again comes this term of conscious parenting. It's not that I'm tired, this, that. No. I said earlier, parenting means a lot of sacrifice. So you're coming back from work, you are tired,
But
you are
forget
drained
that
out,
tiredness.
but you have to. Maybe you can take turns, you can work out a way. But even I have found in my teaching career that mothers who are in the media and all, they are so busy, but they will make it a point that when the child reaches home, the mother will call the child. One call. How was your day? They feel that they matter. They feel that
There is someone to listen.
the parent is eager to listen to them. So that communication is established. Then the mother says, okay, this is a thing. Okay, fine. So we will talk at length when I come back home. This 5 minutes of assurance, you don't need a lot of time, but
Correct.
the right communication has to go. That I am eager to listen to you. We will talk about it. So that is enough. Why will the child Google then?
Very
this communication has to go. You have to make the child
it has
feel.
to be the right communication at the right time is also very
See,
important.
what the child needs is, the child needs that they matter. They need to feel that they matter. They need to feel that their parents are paying attention to them. They need to feel that they are safe. These are the basic needs of the child. A lot of times, the parents, they don't believe the child. When supposing the child has come back and told something about maybe a male member of the family, extended family, that this person did not behave well with me. Maybe the child is very small, but still a girl understands, that what we call good touch, bad touch. A lot of times we see in the family, first of all, the mother will say that this cannot happen. You're telling a lie. That moment you are invalidating the child. That moment.
Next time she's not going to come
Next time she will not. She will not share with you, and that is a trauma she is undergoing. You have to trust the child.
So today, there are a lot of things where teachers also observe a change in the children.
Yes.
In schools, every schools has general PTMs. So in PTM, we see that it's hardly 5 to 10 minutes for a parent. And that is mostly into the class performance, result announcement, and parents complain to the teachers, this is not done, and all these discussions are there. So do you think there should be communication among parents and teachers about the children's changing behavior, about if they observe it or not?
The story in the book in which I have written, that book is called The Classroom Whispers.
Yes.
That is that became
of a silent teacher.
Yes. From the Secret Diary of a
sensitive teacher. Yes.
So that became an Amazon bestseller, and we there was a second edition to that book. So the thing is that there I have mentioned how the teacher, the class teacher, is the first person who will notice the subtle changes, and the teacher has to make a time. That makes a good teacher, and a caring teacher, a sensitive teacher, an empathetic teacher. The teacher has to have that feeling that these children are my children. So that is from the experience which I had in DPS, so I had very, very regular communication with the parents. Even by phone call, you can communicate to the parent. You have to communicate, because as I told you, it is the parent, the child, and the school, they are just parts of a whole. If the parents,
they complete the circle,
they complete the circle, and of course the society. So there has to be very good relation and very good interaction and mutual respect and mutual trust. If any one of that breaks, then the actual sufferer is the child.
Correct.
If the parent just says that no, there is nothing wrong, my child is great, this, that, so it is who is getting affected? The child. if supposing the child is distressed, and the child, and especially small age group children, they really look up to the teacher as their mother. Anything going wrong, they will come and tell to the teacher.
Correct.
That
Anything
this
good
happened,
also they will come
they will
and tell
come
to
and
them.
tell, this happened, my parents were fighting, my parents this thing, my father said this to my mother. They even say, if the father has said, supposing, some abusive words, they will exactly pick up the word and they will convey, this word was told by my father to my mother. What does it mean, ma'am? So
Correct.
things like this, they will tell everything to their teacher. Where else will they say?
True.
So if the parent and the teachers, they are in sync,
Aligned,
aligned,
trusting with each other.
respect and trust should be
Both
there.
is there.
Should be there. So then, otherwise it leads to a lot of things which we hear. When one part, either the teacher is not being sympathetic, teacher is not being sensitive. The teacher should also feel that this is my child. If it happened to my child, what I would have done. And the parents should also have the trust that the teacher, just like that, do not complain about a child. The teacher is also concerned. So if these two sides are taken care of, I have myself in my career, I have communicated regularly with with the parents of my children, and they were always given my phone number. They were told, if you have any problem, please contact. You can just WhatsApp also. I will get back to you.
So it has to be a better communication among the
Better
teachers
communication,
and parents.
better collaboration.
Yeah. So if you are given a liberty to design a school for future, what is it that you look forward to in that school?
You have really made me very proud and very humbled at the same time by telling me that I will design something. But of course, let me tell that in my experience, what I feel is more important for a school curriculum to be. First of all, there should be a lot of space in the school, especially in the tender years, that when the children are maybe in their nursery, KG, and class 1, 2, 3, 4, till class 4, there should be a lot of time allotted for them to do fun activities, to play. There should be a lot of space for the children. Like the boys, they love to be physically active, so to give them a lot of environment, the right environment, a lot of time for them to play, and they learn a lot of things through play, also through games, through sports. They learn leadership, they learn sharing, they learn how to take the credit together. The team wins, not you particularly. So, to share. So all these things are also developed, because we should think that, we are taking care of the child's overall development. We are not just, we are not inducing rote learning, because it just doesn't matter if the child is, say, they learn writing ABCD in when they are 3 years old, or when they are 4 years old, or when they are 5 years old. It just doesn't matter, because they will pick it up. They will pick it up in their own pace. But it is more important that the child should develop their, motor skills, how to manage their emotions, how to share, how to belong to a community, how to belong to a society, how to be patient, how to wait for their time, not instant gratification, not just following, just being stereotypical. Each child has got their own strength, so they should get the opportunity to develop their own strengths. If a child is good at art, that means a child is creative, the child can concentrate. When they're drawing for hours and hours, a small child is coloring or drawing, that means the child is developing a lot of concentration, lot of creativity, the power to be focus on one project. So these power are being developed. So give them that choice, and also to give them the choice to have a say in their subject selection. It is not that every child has to go for medical or engineering, or a child can go for science but decide to become a researcher. not to just be a engineer, to sit for that particular exam. So to allow the child to grow at their own pace, according to their own strength, according to their own interest, and to have space for a lot of interaction, because interaction is required. That is the way we learn to be with each other in the society, to have interaction among the students, to have interaction between the students and the teachers, to have interaction maybe with the older students and the younger students. Like in the teachers day, when the teachers go for to see the programs, the elder children, the children of class 10, 11, they come and they take care of the class. And both of them enjoy so much, because the interaction between the bigger bhaiyas and didis, and that's a big change for them. They enjoy it. You can maybe, we come back and we see the children are really enjoying the company, and that is what they really miss in their house, having the presence of older students, older bhaiyas, older brothers and sisters, and how they deal with them. All these things teaches them resilience, teaches them how to be with the society. We are finding, nowadays the people, they are struggling in their whatever role they are playing. They are struggling in their office space, they are struggling in their place of work, they are struggling in their family, their newly wedded wife, to fit in. This adjustability, the adaptability, that is missing because of the upbringing we have given them. We have not thought about these are the skills they'll need to learn more.
Emotionally strong people.
Emotionally regulated. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So now when we see everywhere across today in the world, we are finding the climate warming, global warming and climate change action saying everywhere. As a director even at Techno, and in yours, any advice you think that, or any process you feel that children can be made more aware about the environment and they can be more environment cautious?
They are already, when we teach children about these things, their mind is so sensitive. They have a lot of empathy towards the trees, towards the animals, the stray animals, everyone, and the small habits which they can develop. Like, when you are going home, the rest of the water which is there in your water bottle, just don't throw it. Just pour it in a nearby plant. Small things. Don't litter plastic. Don't throw anything from the bus. A lot of children, out of fun, out of, there is a stage in their life when they want to do such things, do naughty things. So they will throw it out of the bus, they will throw it out of the car. To abstain from doing that, all these things we can teach, because they are the future generation. They have to take it forward, and they are going to face it the most. This climate warming and the very fact that so many species, so many endangered species, they are getting wiped out, how the animals are suffering. So they should be told more stories about them. And we never know, maybe, then they become very big photographers, they become animal activists, they become environment advocates. They can take environment as their subject of study. So they are
so awareness among them will make them more resilient and
more involved in the planet Earth.
Correct. So now if we just you want to introduce one subject in the school, one subject from your end, what is the subject you'd like to introduce?
I think I will introduce values in them. So values can, some school, they teach it as moral science, some teach that as, like, I have recently introduced this Awakened Citizen program, which is conducted by Ramakrishna Mission. So how to be an awakened citizen, how to be, you are a future citizen. So that value, that is the first thing I would introduce.
So now when the world is saying that introduce AI in school, what are your thoughts on that?
See, AI is a skill, but we have to keep it as a skill. We should not make it a part of our life, because we are humans. We need human touch. No AI can replace what humans can do.
Correct.
So the machines are machines. Machines can help us in our work, but they cannot become a part of our life.
So now one thing that you think that today's parents need to learn.
They need to learn how to be matured, emotionally matured, and to realize that parenting is a lifelong commitment. It should be there that when the child is grown up, maybe the child will not ask for the normal things, but if the child is in distress, if the child is having fever, the child is abroad, the child is having some crisis, the first call should go to the parent. If that takes place, that means we have been a good parent. We have been able to give that feeling in the mind of the child that I'm always there for you.
So as an educator, any one thing, any one incidence in your life which is very close to your heart?
There has been many such instances. One such thing that I have even written in my book, that there was a child whose parents were going through a very painful separation, and the way the child was getting affected, and however much I tried to explain it to those two adults, to resolve their differences in a more matured manner, they were also being childlike in their approach, each one of them venting their own frustration. I'm not saying that they were not justified. They were justified, but they did not understand the harm they were causing to the child. And ultimately the child was a bully. Child became violent just because he was not getting that attention. So to draw attention, he used to do all naughty things. This is one of the way in which the child responds if the child doesn't get attention. So he was doing this, and ultimately the child was given a TC from the school. And the child used to some way, feel very attached to me. So always used to say, Jonaki ma'am, Jonaki ma'am. And when the principal was taking the decision that, you have done such thing, that he had broken the glass of the principal's car. So that was the final, the final nail in the coffin. So then he kept on saying, I'm a good boy, you call Jonaki ma'am, she will say I am a good boy. So at that point of time, standing in front of the principal, the headmistress, the parents, I had talked to the parents so many times, but none of them will see reason. So I could not say anything when the principal asked me that, what do you say, that he is saying he is a good boy? So I felt that I let him down in some way when I said that, yes, he's a very sensitive boy. He's going through problems, but he is indisciplined.
So now just quick questions. One word that defines happy classroom: empathy, laughter, freedom.
Empathy.
One value you wish to have in every school. It is kindness, curiosity, respect.
Kindness.
Kindness. So emotionally intelligent children or academic excellence?
Emotionally intelligent.
So now when we do work about parenting today, so you think it is of more pressure or it is of more participation?
The way parenting is done, yes, it is more of social pressure. I will not say pressure from the parent, because parents are also getting it from somewhere, right? So it is social pressure.
Okay. So now if you have just a quick one word for every school, it should be they should have a counseling cell or an innovative lab. Innovation lab, if we say. What is more important in a school? If both are missing, what is more important? Counseling
Innovative
cell
lab.
or innovative lab or a counseling cell? What is
I
more
think
important?
counseling cell.
Counseling cell. So what one lesson you think a child should be taught or you have taught in it to the children as a more priority in your education or teaching experience?
Empathy.
Empathy. So any suggestion you have for the educators today, that what is it that we can and how we can actually help children learn empathy?
Their own behavior. Their own behavior only reflects, if it reflects empathy. We should, empathy means putting oneself in that child's position and seeing that if I was in that position, I was of that age, I was that helpless, what I would have done, and then dealing with the problem from there. It does not mean that, you will not train them. It does not mean you will not punish them. It is not that you will not, guide them. You will do everything, but you will do it with kindness. You will not be very harsh, because as it is, you have seen that, machines have invaded our lives. Our life is already harsh. So whatever little droplets of kindness we can put in,
We should
everywhere, we should do that. That is what is lacking in today's world.
So one last thing is, any one message, we talked about teachers, parents, one message to children who are listening to this podcast, what you like to say to the children of today?
I would like to say that you need not fit into a box. You are important as you are. You matter. You are very precious, and you have every right to lead a life as per your choice. Yes, provided you have to take responsibility for it. It's not that I will choose something and then I am not being able to do it, and then the parents have to mop it up. No. If they are willing to take the responsibility of it, they are allowed to choose a life of their choice.
Thank you, Janaki ma'am. And it's very, very clear with our discussion that a collaboration between children, teachers, and school parents is very, very important for a holistic development of a child.
Of course.
And there is no denial to the fact of communication, collaboration among everyone within the school ecosystem.
In isolation, we are nothing.
We are nothing. Thank you so much, ma'am.